Monsieur Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bësal mu fay.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bësal mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
It's 27 minutes past 10 o'clock here on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, which now tends to be extended week in, week out, because, we never lack for interesting people to meet on the program. And the next interesting person we're going to meet is our good Raka, myself, and Ibrahim G. Sankare, whom I'm sure the country misses. Actually works under Sankare as his deputy. I'll let him introduce himself, because as a communication person, he should be able to introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Peter, for having me. I am Sankanu, officially Principal Caminata Sankanu, but Sankanu is fine. Deputy Government Spokesperson, Office of the President.
Fantastic. Where's your boss? Everybody keeps asking me, where's Sankare? Where's Sanks?
He's gone to India to complete his PhD in literature.
Fantastic. But he hasn't quit government, has
No,
he?
he's still working remotely. The good thing is our job that we can work everywhere. Though it's heavy duty 24 hours, we can work from all the four corners of the world at night. So
all right. Tell us a bit about, the work that you have had to do in his absence.
Yeah, actually, what I'm doing usually, and also now I'm embedded, trying to ensure that there is internal coordination, because I'm now working at the Office of the President. Before I was outside, and tries to ensure that work together with the media and communication issues. So there's a lot of integration between the spokespersons and overall government communication in terms of strategic communication. So we are doing a lot of internal reforms so that there's proper coordination. We have the Ministry of Information. We have the Media and Communication Unit, the spokesperson, so to ensure that, the government communication apparatus, work in sync.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that. We need the government information apparatus to be in sync, rather than get this from this, segment, get that from another unit, and so on and so forth. But you're here to talk about yourself. Right. Was it last year or the year before you got this AU Media Fellowship that we all celebrated? I mean, we had this celebratory interview, if you like, on this program. Right. What has happened since?
A lot has happened in terms of my personal development, also for my job. Officially, within the first year, we had a lot of study tours in and out of Africa. So this fellowship, as you know, was established by the African Union to help change the African narrative, and also champion public engagement towards the Africa Agenda 2063, which is the continental blueprint, and then looking at some of the major milestones like the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, the OMVG, and all other projects, free movement. And Gambia is one of the countries, that has been ranked high in terms of commitment to African integration. We are among the top 5 countries. And this was a privilege. So when I was selected, and they were happy and they supported me. So we visited the African Union headquarters, and as a communication expert, so looking at how the continent communicates, because also the African Union with all its member states and different organs, and then Africa Risk Capital, the Pan-African Parliament. We went to the European Union to look at their spokesperson system, how it works, so that we can see how we can adapt the best practices to the Gambian peculiarities. So that helped me. And also, as part of the fellowship output, I'm currently working on academic articles on the Gambia's Access to Information Act or law, which is a classic example of government, civil society cooperation. So the academic article takes some time because it has to go through a peer review editorial that will be published. And there's also going to be an online portal, which will be called the Pan-African Voice, which will be there aggregating, continental issues. So these are some of the projects. But also on my day job as deputy government spokesperson, and also looking at the strategic communication to ensure that the lessons learned, I'm able to apply it. And I'm grateful that the Gambia government, under the leadership of President Barrow, guidance of deputy spokesperson, and also specifically the chief of staff, have been very supportive. When I come, I'll tell him, this is what I learned from Europe, this is what I learned from the study store. The study store will say, okay, we'll adapt it this way according to the Gambian needs. And that has been very helpful. So.
When you talk about the African narrative, what's the African narrative that needs to change?
Well, if you look at the social media these days, the trend that's happening, the young people, they want to control the destiny. They want to break away. And we've seen all these, the movements here and there.
Well, that can't be negative.
No, it is positive. So that's what it's about. But trying to mediate in a way that, it doesn't get out of hand. Because at the end of the day, we want to develop. We all have basic needs. As Africans, we want to have the freedom to move from Cairo to Cape. We want the freedom or the right to establishment. We want to communicate with us. People are intermarrying across the border. It has already been happening. Open border. These are artificial borders that are basically choking us as a continent. Mm-hmm. So the narrative to ensure that we can walk. And the commentator talk about tribalism. It is a blessing that we can celebrate our commonalities. But because we all think in silos within all this territoriality, this artificial territory, we only think as competitors. But we work together. For example, working as a continental level, the African Union staff, they are known as, continental citizens. And you can see that, there's a lot of Gambians, people from different worlds. So there's mini continental unity. So we can celebrate our commonalities. And these are the narratives. And to say that we don't have to wait for outsiders to tell our stories. And this is why this mediaship fellowship came about. Mm. And even with the official end, once a fellow is always a fellow. That's why whenever the African Union is having something special, they will invite me. When time permits, I will attend. If it's going to be virtual, I join virtually.
So they took you to Europe to go and study best practice from government spokespersons across the European continent. So what best practice did you learn from this trip, from this exercise?
Yeah, it's looking at our complexity. First, before going to Europe, we studied Africa. We were in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, to study the African Union, communication mechanism. We went to the Pan-African Parliament, the Africa Risk Capital, and the Africa CDC. By virtue of my previous work in COVID-19 communication, the African Disease Control, I'm also part of their program on saving livelihoods, talking about risk communication and community engagement. Yeah, looking at the EU, one of the complex institutions, it's good you study what's happening on the continent and also outside. So they have spokespersons, it's the main spokesperson. They don't have deputies, but they have specialized spokesperson for external relations. It will be handling only themes relating to their diplomacy, spokesperson for agriculture, spokesperson for particular topics. So they have that system. So they look at that, and also information flow. Here we have, government entities, they will send me their draft press releases to look at it, to ensure there's coherence and consistency. The timeline, the deadline for the workflow of information, the value chain of communication, and also having standard communication procedures. So the way they do it, what the structure is, the resources they have at hand, and the time. So look at that, and they also made some recommendations on what we can do here based on our resources and our
and from and with your fellow either spokespersons or deputy spokespersons, what did you learn?
Yeah, we have, like I said, each country communicate differently based on their needs. And Gambia is...
Let's say South Africa, for instance. Did they have representation on this?
Yeah, South Africa is... South Africa, all those countries, they are sophisticated.
So with the South African spokesperson, what did you learn? I mean, what did you find fascinating, different about their job?
Yeah, it's like, a whole ministry, South Africa, the way they set it up, and they have it's well structured, organized, and they also, the interesting thing is that, their spokesperson is given a special mandate. Like, when it comes to community radios and persons with disability, they place that one specifically under the spokesperson to handle. So they have that one. So they'll target a special niche that who are difficult to reach, who are marginalized. Like here now, we can say, okay, now, the spokesperson, now let's say, okay, when it comes to audiovisual media, or look at an area whereby, it's not, government can take it, okay, this is, you coordinate that one, in addition to your daily routine, but look at a disadvantage or a marginalized and unreached sector of the society. directly. So they even produce, government communication in Braille for the people visually impaired. So, and we had copies. So, and then people who cannot speak, the languages, they have their 11 national languages. So the spokesperson is given that responsibility to produce content to reach those things that are not, because most of those people are focused more, or others are focused more on the conventional commercial, but this marginalized group, so that was an interesting, dimension in their work, which I found.
Has it left you thinking, well, we could do more with the Office of the Spokesperson in the Gambia as well?
Yeah, the Gambian system is that, we don't have an office of the spokesperson. I mean, it's like the way it is, and the spokesperson is...
How do you mean we don't have an office of the spokesperson? All press releases that originate from you people has office of the spokesperson at the top.
I know. Okay, we have the spokesperson as presidential diaspora advisor, who is answerable to the president. We have the deputy spokesperson, myself, under the civil service. Like an office we staff, in the traditional sense, we don't have. We have the portfolios, the job that we do. But like an office we staff, we don't have it. So because that's the Gambian peculiarity. But like I said, right now I work under the media and communication unit at the office of the president. So which means that I can deputize the spokesperson. I can work with the DPPR. I can work with the minister. Right now, the cabinet has given us an assignment, which we are doing. I'm working closely with the Minister of Information, with the Director of Press and Public Relations, and myself. So it's working. So there are always projects. Government will give us an assignment. We sit down, we use common sense, and we work on implement it in the interest of the country.
Okay. And, did you explain our setup to some of your colleagues? Were they curious enough to find out how the spokesperson in the Gambia does their work?
Well, those who reach out to me, I do explain, because some people say that there's duplicity.
And how did they react?
No, after they understand, because like I said, the information minister, as he said, he explained what government has been doing, this and that, and government is building scan. As a spokesperson in charge of strategic communication, to explain the importance. What is a scan? What does it mean? What is it going to change? How is it going to transform? So the strategic communication aspect of it that the spokesperson is looking at, how the transformative power of government's work. Like the minister Zizikemi has been talking about, the government did and that and that.
Yes.
But how is it going to improve lives? So that is our own role as spokesperson, to go deeper, to disaggregate it further, to explain a road has been built. What is the benefit? It's going to be easier for farmers to bring their stock to market. Taxi driver can say that, our vehicles will not be breaking down. So look at that impact. So that's how the spokesperson's area will be, and also ensure there is coherence. Whenever the government, ministers or government departments want to issue a press release, they send it to the spokesperson to look at it, to ensure that there is, harmony in the languages. So our jobs are different. Then the media and communication unit, or the DPPR, is there for the daily routines of the president. Like right now, they are currently on our engagement. I would have joined them, but I'm here. So we work together. So our roles are actually complementary, and I'm looking at from this, fellowship, I've learned to see how best that we can work together. So when people come and ask, I explain, they understand. But from outside, people think that is duplicity. Well, that's not duplicity.
Okay. I mean, is there any other country in Africa with a setup similar to ours?
Well, for now, looking at it, no, because of small country with resources. Senegal, they have a spokesperson who sits in cabinet. Uganda, they have an elaborate spokesperson. Like in most of this country, they have, it's like a separate ministry. But Gambia with resources, looking at that, where we're coming from, so we don't have that, an arrangement. But in the way it is, what is important to let it work. We go and study these best practices to come and adapt to our reality. Maybe going forward, when resources are available, when the capacity is there, then we can always modify, because it's work in progress.
So you've made a proposal to your employers, have you?
Yeah, I made a proposal, and we are currently working on something. And then yesterday we had also a meeting with our development partners on photo forum, because there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to strengthen government communication on how to improve. Last year we developed a standard communication procedure, and we are looking at it, and then hopefully within the next 2-3 months we'll come up with something else, which is going to improve. So we are continuously working on ourselves every day.
Fantastic. And well, that's about the AU fellowship, which, as you say, it's still ongoing, because you are now working on what, your final deliverables?
Deliverable, exactly. Academic article on access to information, an online portal to be called the Pan-African Voice, which is going to be disaggregated.
How much, have you to say about access to information? It's pretty new. Literally, there's only one person who is testing the access to information law, and that is Madi Jobate.
Yeah, that's the thing. So because it's new, we are looking at it, the evolution. Where are we coming from the historical perspective of it? Like the government, because looking at it as a case of of government civil society cooperation, the process of developing this access to information and how it's come and what is being done. Like currently, I mean, there's a baseline study on how to go about and also preparing government capacity. That's why I'm doing law, because if you look at the government, communication cadre, we don't have much people with background in law. So if citizens started requesting information, we don't always have to rush to the Attorney General for legal advice. Someone with a legal background can look at it and say, this is how we do it. So that's why I'm doing my law program, and I did not go to India for my PhD yet. I said, let me finish and then continue. It is also going to add value to my work. And like I say, I thank the Chief of Staff, spokesperson, Cabinet Secretary, Secretary General, and President Barrow in particular for all being supportive, because anytime the African Union needs me, they give me the clearance to go. And the good thing is that most of my travel are at no cost to government. So that's also.
Yeah, but that's why they let you go ahead. If it was cost to the government, you wouldn't get it. But once your boss comes back, you also have plans to go and do your doctorate in India.
No, I love the Gambia so much. I might even do it. I'm thinking of, if UTG can introduce a PhD. I love this country that I don't like going out and coming back. I have offered, a few years ago, I got an offer to do a PhD in UAE, but I did not apply. So let me finish my law program first. And
fantastic.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de dik. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
You're also planning on traveling to Morocco very soon.
Yeah, I'm selected to represent the Gambia at the African Media Convention, which is also an initiative of the African Union, and they are also the African Editors Forum, supported by the UNESCO. I attended the previous one in Ghana.
So what is this convention about? What takes place at this convention?
We're going to discuss, artificial intelligence and its impact on freedom of information and access to information across Africa.
What's the impact of AI on information in Africa?
It's about money.
Or let's narrow it down to Gambia. How is AI affecting the dissemination of information, the sharing of information?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be part of another project here that UNESCO is supporting at the university level, whereby to develop a curriculum on AI. It's a tool that people can use, to aggregate information, to manipulate data. In the academic area, we've seen how many students are becoming lazy. They pass their assignment through AI. It is generated. So scholars need to be very smart to detect. So the integrity and ethical is a tool that can be used. And it can also be used for misinformation and disinformation and distortion. So government needs to be prepared to know that the tool is used, to ensure that there is credibility and there is accuracy and consistency in information. So it's also a new tool that is coming, and we have to learn how to use it. So it has its positives and negatives, but ensure that there is ethical use in AI governance, and how is it going to affect the media across the continent.
Well, when you say affect, it can either affect us positively
or negatively.
Or negatively.
Yeah, so that's why we have to build the capacity of the people to know how to use it for the positive side of it.
Okay, let's start by discussing the negatives before we come to the positives.
So what we
how can AI affect our job negatively?
Yeah, what we realized, because during the study tour in Ethiopia, we had a session with the London School of Economics. They have a very elaborate AI journalism program. We had a session, we realized that there is a deficit of information. Africans don't feed. It's just a machine. You have to feed information there. So the algorithms, the information that's available is already still orders who information, because it's not from the African narrative. So the challenge we have is we have to feed in more information, because it's not creating new. It is just rearranging data that is already there. So that is a deficit. So we have to be producing more information, put it into the system, into the generator to come up with results. So that is challenge. So until and unless we produce content. That's why I encourage writing. Let's produce content and put it there. Then once we use the AI tools, it will be able to deliver the one. So, and that is the biggest deficit. Until and unless we produce information and feed this, this machine, these algorithms, the other people who are active are going to control the narrative. So that affects us in that area.
So they will put in information that we may not necessarily like.
Like, our people will just put something, AI, or ChatGPT, DeepSeek, do this. It will come. Maybe it's the Chinese who are active. They put a lot of information through their DeepSeek, tools. That's what it's going to answer. So if you look at it, there will be some errors. So that's why the first important thing is to feed in as much information as we want, then we'll be able to control the agency and the narrative. So that's secondly, because there's going to be misinformation and disinformation. If you don't want that one, you have to be proactive. So, we have to be proactive by making sure we produce. And I keep telling the young people, go beyond just, status of the taking pictures on Twitter and social media. Produce something, produce content and feed it there. This is the only way we can win, we can have a competitive edge in this AI technology. And then later on, we can decide about ethical use and ensure that the information that is there, we can control it, we can mediate it, and we can moderate it in a way that, it can serve, useful purpose.
Of course, it's easier to just take a photo and, and upload it online.
Yeah,
when you tell them, don't just stop at that, all right?
Yeah.
Produce information.
That's right.
I mean, if they said to you back, well, what information, what would you say?
Well, I would say that, okay, if happen, you go to the market, you chat with it, it's about history, human interest stories. Everyday stories are available. You can, the taxi driver, their stories. Like I said, I talk about, the impact of the road. Mm-hmm. The other day, I took taxi, I was with this driver. He was so happy. He said, now our vehicle can stay long. Government, with all these purposes, with all the criticism, roads are good. These are impact. You sit down in a taxi from Westfield to Turntable. In that moment, you chat with people. Okay. You meet people from different lives. The other time, there's a disconnect, like, we say all people don't narrate stories to young people. The other day, I entered public transport. There was this old man who entered. He was joking with a younger one. Our everyday stories are interesting. I said, wow, this culture is there. He was making the kids happy when the mother was stressed. So there's a lot of story going out there. You just have to be there. Even the environment, you can look at, somebody can walk around Bakote dump site to look at this, the recycling that is going on. But when they sit down, it's always about, the negatives. But a lot of positive things is happening but they only talk about, take pictures here in the background. That's okay. What is the background about? What is the information behind? A picture tells a thousand story.
And so the more negative you feed into the system,
yes.
When you do a search on ChatGPT, or is it GPT?
They have different ChatGPT, TPT. We had a workshop the last time. Deep. It keeps changing because we are still no which tool is going to survive because they are cannibalizing each other. They are competing. One tool will be available today. The next time another software. So because it's still that's why it's called regenerative. It keeps changing.
Okay. So the more junk you feed in, I mean, when you do a search on Gambia.
Yeah. Yes,
you're bound to end up with junk, information.
Yeah, that's why, at times, some people were worried that when they look at the Gambian social media space, they see only negative information. So for them to get accurate information, some people, they have to wait for the official information from their embassies. That's why we still have people visiting, in spite of all the negative, because people are now informed. So they have alternatives. So when they say, there's too much negative information, but I still want to go and find out, they still come and visit. And when Gambians visit for other countries, they take pictures, of Trafalgar Square in UK, of, Empire State Garden, beautiful place. They go to Dubai, they take pictures.
And Hyde Park.
Yeah. So when other people come to the Gambia, they take pictures, beautiful pictures of the country, the OIC highway, and the roads, so it's normal. So those ones are also countering some of these false, the negative, one-sided narrative, I can say.
Fantastic. So how long are you going to be in Morocco for?
For a week, and then thereafter, later we'll go to Ethiopia for the African CDC workshop on safe livelihoods, as a part of the COVID-19, measures.
Ministers get criticized a lot that, they attend all these conferences, everywhere around the world, and it's just like going and coming back and just waiting for the next opportunity to travel again. I mean, the experience, the new knowledge that you gain outside, how do you, as an individual, work, to implement it in the Gambia? Like when you encounter new practice, positive, best practice in Ethiopia, for instance, and you come back home, do you try to implement this in your work, as part of your work?
Yes, I brief my superiors, and we have in government, we have a system called, back to office report. When you go, you report to the office and you inform your principal what you've learned, and they can advise you, okay, yeah, we can do this based on our realities. Like I said, I made an example. When I came back from one assignment, I informed the spokesperson and also informed the chief of staff. And the chief of staff said, okay, based on our Gambia reality, we are going to do it this way. And then as a civil servant, I follow that one. And that is happening at least from my own experience. Like I said, so far, the government has been supportive. So from my own, every trip, I will brief them and I'll give a recommendation on how to go about it. And they will say, okay, based on our reality or based on the current situation, we are going to do it this way. And it has been very helpful.
You seem to like not only your country, but even the work that you do. But is there anything frustrating about the work?
Well, actually, it's the slow pace of reform and the attitudes. One thing I realize that people jump, change. You can change government. Even an Engel Gabriel, if he comes and rules this country, if the attitude doesn't change, nothing will happen. As an insider in government since 2019, the attitude. They are talking about, assets, auctioning. Yes. But if you look at the local government, what's going on there. So it's at the level of society. Our society, it is unfortunate, the attitude. When you are in the system, that's what you know. Many people are complaining about corruption. But when they are given the chance, they'll be more corrupt than the people.
That's a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. And this is the thing that makes me sad.
Maybe government should try me.
Anyway, so whatever the case may be, I'm just from my experience, and that makes me sad. Yeah. This is a small country we can build. We can fit. We can respect each other's right. Another thing is people don't respect each other's right. That makes me sad. I was in Scotland for my master's program. I can sit down 1 kilometer of land on fence because people respect each other's land. Here you buy a land, you live with somebody will trespass. Even this thing about,
Yeah, because the law is not applied.
Yeah, that's it. But
even if you trespass into my own land.
Yeah, but you don't have to. But I think our social code, our bringing, we are raised from family, from culture. Where I'm from, my family, where I was raised, the most important they tell me, don't bring shame to your family. Don't bring shame to your pedigree. And this one has been a lesson. I spent 20 years in Europe. I stay with people who smoke alcohol, whatever. I was in wayward. After 20 years, I come. So at the end of the day, it is the upbringing. So I realized that that one is lacking, is fading away. So the jump culture that we are used to. So we need to revisit our society and our cultural values, and then to know, because I realize that is affecting. You can go to the West and have all the degree. You can go to Saudi Arabia and have all the degree. But once you are in this machinery, if you are not well trained, if your background is not strong, if your pedigree is not strong, you will mess up. Before, people used to be ashamed when their kids come with luxury cars or unexplained wealth. But today is something to be proud of. And these are some of the things, it makes me sad as a Gambian who is working to serve. And I'm glad, alhamdulillah, thank God, I'm happy for and I'm also blessed that I have bosses around me who are very supportive. The president, the chief of staff, spokesperson, cabinet secretary, director of press and public relations. And I'm praying not to be involved in anything that's going to bring shame to my family or my family name. I prefer to stay in a hut with the dignity than being in a 10-story mansion. And that, like I say, anytime I sit down, I go to the office, the first thing I do before I make a decision, don't bring shame to your pedigree. And this is something and if you can bring that culture, it's going to help you develop this country.
Wow, fantastic. It's unbelievable that somebody in government, is actually thinking about this, because much as many of your colleagues in government, dislike him, Alaji Barrow did a piece on, shame dying in this country. Maybe I'll just go back to the archives and bring it back next week.
Yeah, it goes beyond government. It's the entire society. You walk in the street.
When government organizes retreats every now and again for Department A, Ministry B, Agency Y, I think this should be part of the conversation. How do we, bring back shame into our culture, which is something that people, need to avoid. Because apparently people have no shame now. Because as you say, once you get into government, you were living in a hut. You should graduate immediately from a hut to a 10-story building.
No, my retirement plan is to have a hut somewhere and then around surrounded by animals. So I'm not even interested in all this luxury.
Whereabouts in the Gambia?
Yeah?
Whereabouts in the Gambia? What region of the Gambia? Because I would like you also to, to find space there for me so that I can also come
around my village,
and build the second hut.
Alhamdulillah, at least I inherited, my great-grandfather founded a community. I inherited enough land, so I can just build a small hut there and retire.
Is it time to maybe start, teaching, instilling, especially in, civil servants, public servants, the values of morality and uprightness, even religiosity, if you like, because if you fear, if you fear God, there are so many things you wouldn't do.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I'm still in the academia teaching, part-time, because I have to change my position to part-time because of my job in government. I teach students these values. I told them nobody's going to teach you. You focus more on passing, having beautiful certificates. The job market, the world is looking at these values. But at the end of the day, is the home. Because they are bringing us things, because no matter how you try to train, if the home front is not fixed, it's going to be a waste. So I think it's the home that supplies all these people. Most of these people you're talking about, either in government or in other areas, they're coming from home. So we need to strengthen the families. The Gambian family or the African family needs to be strengthened. That's a lot of work at community level. Yeah. So like I say, it takes a village to raise the community, as we said before, but unfortunately the villages are disappearing. It's the social media and the imitation, and also this be rich quick, this instant gratification culture. We can introduce it there. We have role models. We have people who are there who can be. This is something that is ongoing. But at the end of the day, it has corollary impacts on all these things. We are talking about corruption today. We have to look at the root causes. It is also cultural because the value system is changing. Yeah, if you are there, they say, you don't have anything. Imam Baraka Wallah, they start insulting your parents. That but why? That's not it. At the end of the day, peace of mind is priceless.
Yeah, and the inclination to be corrupt is, you find it everywhere. Yeah, in the church, in the mosque, on the streets. The driver who is behind you in the queue and suddenly comes out and goes past and then forces, in front. If you ever put that driver in a position of authority, he will take and take and take and then suppress everybody, just as, he went past everybody believing that they should, they don't deserve to be ahead of him.
Yeah, like I said, glorification of gangsterism, as I call it.
You are in a line at the post office and somebody feels, well, these people, they are not in a hurry. I am in a hurry. In fact, I should be serviced first before everybody else.
That's why I don't like whenever I go, even if I'm controlled, somebody will tell me, you don't tell the traffic police who you are. Yeah. I went to the bank the other day, I sat in the queue. I start following. I said, why should I tell the police officer whom I am? It's only when he asks for my documents, he see I praise, okay. So I said, I don't need to show whom I am.
Fantastic.
My job and my position will show it to me. So I obey and have to be a role model. As a deputy government spokesperson, people see me as a representative. It's also disciplinary because my behavior will be interpreted as the behavior of government. See your government spokesperson, see your deputy. So it is also helped me behave in a way that I cannot be an owner.
Absolutely.
I don't even go to Senegambia outside. After work, I'm home. I said, because I have to be careful where I go to, because at the end of the day, I represent an institution.
You're more like your boss. I can see that you're following in his footsteps. Sankanu, in 2.5 minutes, how would you like to, end our conversation? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you also. I want to appreciate that, this turning into an institution. I hope that, it continues. Sustainability is important, institutionalization, and that this one continue, the program continues. And again, I want to thank, because we are working an institution, the people around you, they give you the chance. So I'm working so as not to make mistakes in my job because of the people I work with. The spokesperson, the chief of staff, Modke Sise, cabinet secretary and secretary general Alunja, DPPR Ami Bojan Sisoho, PS Jiba, DPS Sane, all the staff at the office of the president, starting with the president himself, they've all been very supportive. And then they've given me the latitude and the freedom and the credibility such that, I try to make sure I don't make mistakes. And I make sure that I'm available 24 hours to serve the country. And this is something that I would once again to appreciate them, for the support. And I'm going to Morocco for this to represent the Gambia. When I come back, I'll present a report, and it will add value to my work. And then citizens are going to benefit at the end of the day.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Axel James Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Busel mu fay.
What?
Busel mu fine. Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Busol mo fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.